Bye came at a good time. It's kind of great for our program kind of reset a little bit. Um, as I said, I feel like we've had 2 really good weeks or a week and a half of good work. We have great young men on our team. They're working hard. Like what we've done the last 2 weeks, getting ready for um, a team that's playing really well. Sometimes I could say like maybe we're a play away from being 1-1. Um, Idaho's a couple plays away from being undefeated. So a good football team. Coach Ford, new coach, has done a really good job with their program. Physical team on both sides of the ball. Physical run team, physical on defense. Um, Kind of feel like both of our starting 2 games, Central Michigan and Texas, kind of prepared us for a physical team. We know that they're going to be a physical team. Got a really athletic quarterback. Joshua Wood came from Fresno State. We've seen him before. With a talented young man. Good running back. Like I said, they're a well-coached team. You watch the way they play. Um, Plays great effort, well-coached. And, we're looking forward just to being back home, playing again. And I love the way our guys are working right now. So, yes.
Hey, coach. So, as the bye week kind of wraps up, like, how has the extra time like helped the team prepare to get that first win on Saturday?
Well, it's allowed us to focus on us. There's some things that we got to get rectified. And so you just look at all the areas that you can get better at, which are a lot. And we just went to work on them. So we had a little bit of rest. We had a couple of days off, but last week we, practiced the majority of the week, but we had some day, took some days off in the weekend to allow our guys to recover. Um, but some of the glaring things that we need to work on, we're trying to get better at. With the number one being the obvious one is turnovers. I don't know what the latest one is, but when I looked at it before, we were second to last, but that was a week ago. You know what I mean? And so we got to get that rectified. And I was looking at we've in 2 games. We had 7 turnovers. We had 4 missed field goals, and we had a drive stop because of a late personal foul that we were on the move in Central Michigan, and we were across the 50-yard line. We had a penalty. It took us back, whatever, first and 25 or whatever, and we ended up not scoring. So those are 12 drives that we didn't get an opportunity to either score or finish those drives. And a lot of those, obviously, the turnovers put our defense in a bad spot, put our team in a bad spot. So I think that's first and foremost. I don't know if, it would have been tough to beat Texas, but you turn the ball over 4 times, you got no chance. But I thought in the first quarter, you know, we held them pretty good, and I thought we were moving the ball on them. And then we had, like I said, those turnovers. So the bye week was working on ourselves. But the biggest glaring thing is making sure we take care of the football and try to continue to get more turnovers.
For sure. And what have you seen from Tama during the bye week? And do you feel he can make an impact in some design runs this Saturday after he didn't have a carry last or versus Texas?
Well, we're also getting Tom into the normal offense. We don't want to come in. Here's Tom a run. You know, what I mean, we don't want a blinking red light that every time he comes in it's a run. He just got here. He's a mid-year freshman, so he's still learning the offense. He's gotten better. He's super athletic, so obviously the kid can run. But also we're trying to get him better at the whole offensive package.
Hey, Coach, Niles with the Spear here. You just said the bye came at the right time. What are some things that the team has gotten out of the bye?
I thought I just answered it, but it's trying to get better at the stuff the glaring things, turnovers. Trying to make sure that we do a better job of taking care of the football. That's number one, and just continue to work on the things that we're working on. Like I said, we're after the first drive against Central Michigan. I mean, the first quarter they had 99 yards of rushing in the first quarter, but we held them to about 100 the rest of the 3 quarters, the rest of the game. So early on, we didn't stop the run, and early on against Central Michigan, we couldn't run the ball. But feel like we held up better against the run towards the end part of the Central Michigan game and in the Texas game. And we felt like we ran the ball decent against Texas. I mean, you see it. I mean, we're running the ball decent against, a top 5 team. And so the biggest thing, first and foremost, is just the glaring part of turnovers. Try to make sure we get that rectified while we continue to get better at everything else.
And then, what do you expect the team's energy to be like Saturday, coming off the week off?
We had a great week. We had a great week last week. We had a great week this week. We're chomping at the bit to get back and play. You know what I mean? Because some people, I take everything in context from a standpoint of obviously you want to win every game, but we're 0-2. But it's not like we need to burn the building down. You know what I mean? Or do anything drastic. I mean, or crazy from the standpoint of we're a play away or two away from winning the first game, and we lost to a team that was preseason ranked number one. You know what I mean? So that's the context. That fixing all these things, but we still got a long season. I always chuckle sometimes, and I've been doing this a long time. I'll get texts from close friends or family members like, "Hey, hang in there, keep fighting," and blah blah blah. I'm like, kind of like, we got no alternative. That's all we're gonna do. We're gonna keep fighting, gonna get better, and we look forward to this Saturday.
Aaron Johnson with the Mercury News, and I just want to know how you felt the offenses looked during these past 2 weeks of practice, because you said they played very clean, and you were kind of surprised on how they looked against Central Michigan. So how are they looking these 2 games?
Yeah, I thought we were the first two games very inconsistent. Some two drives like whoa, that looked awesome and we functioned. We just felt like we got to be better. Just being more efficient and operating our offense. And I thought we've had 2 good weeks. Or week and a half, I should say. And so look better. But it's always a work in progress. But we were inconsistent the first 2 weeks, so that definitely got to get better. But like I said, a big part of it, again, I mentioned we had 12 drives that we didn't get a chance to finish. I mean, that's 6 per game. That's half a game, so we got to get that cleaned up. I feel like we get that cleaned up, we'll be okay.
And then what was it like to see Scudero and Kyrie Scholes kind of run some great routes and create separation on some SEC corners?
Well, even Leland, I mean, all 3 of those guys, we knew that those guys would run. But they did, we came into this season feeling like we had some speed. But to see Danny, run away from Texas guys, or even Kyrie, like you said, run, and even Leland, you can see their speed. And so we knew we had guys that could run, but being able to gauge them off Texas's guys and see, them run, we got some weapons. We just got to do a better job of, protecting. They got to do a better job of running routes. Walker's got to do a better job, and his part is the whole offense has got to do a better job to help those guys that that, like you just mentioned, Danny and Kyrie, and I added in Leland.
And then just how have you felt about the defense's third down defense? 2 for 17.
Yeah, we're doing awesome.
Yeah.
It was a big emphasis in off season, and to Coach Odum and our defensive staff's credit, they've done a really good job that way. And again, even to Texas, I mean, holding those guys, I think they're 2 for 13 or something against Texas, and so it's done a really good job in our third down stuff. We got to shore up our run game, and we knew going into the first game, and I'm sure you can look at the press conference going to Central Michigan. We knew that they were going to be a physical team, but I don't think we really knew as a team when we got hit in the mouth the first quarter. We're going to be ready this game because we know they're going to try to do the same thing. They got a lot of big personnel. They're going to try to round the ball down their throat. They got a lot of quarterback runs. We'll be better prepared for that. I thought we were better prepared for the run against Texas. I thought we were better against the run, the ending part of the game against Central Michigan. Just the beginning part, we just got kind of hit in the lips a little bit, but I feel like those games have helped us prepare for a team like Idaho that's going to do. I mean, schematically, they're not the same team. I'm not saying that, but just from a philosophical standpoint, we know they're going to try to establish the run, and we got to do a great job of stopping the run.
Hey, Coach, Lucas Quick with the Spear here. You mentioned on Idaho and their physicality. What else have you seen from this Idaho team, and what challenges might you guys face against them?
Well, the quarterback, I mean, Joshua Wood, I mean, super athletic, extends plays. There are times where last week against Utah Tech, he looked bottled up, and he was able to make some plays. Super physical and sound on their defense. They're not a flashy defense, but hard-nosed, tough, gritty, which most good defenses are. And so those are the things I say. I mean, just the hard-nosed defense. The running back's a really good running back, too. He does a really good job. I'm trying to remember his name, but super athletic kid, Elisha, Cummings. Um, but the quarterback makes everything go. Physical line, the quarterback makes everything go. When things break down, like I said, he was able to get to the edge. There's a couple times last week where again things looked bad for them, and he was able to escape and make plays. So he's going to be a handful and a really sound defense. Done.
Because we talk about Idaho and their physicality, and if you look at their trench line, there's another, big Midwestern kids there. And what do you do defensively or even offensively to just kind of circumvent that size, especially as the game goes on, it kind of wear on you.
Yeah, I just feel like we've practiced for it, we're getting ready for it. Had some physical practices. Had a lot of padded practices to kind of get ready for it. Um, but like I said, Texas wasn't that small either. They're a big team, and I thought we held up to the run against them, and so um, just we've been practicing, getting ready for it. I think we tried to get ready for Central Michigan. We thought we did, but obviously the beginning part of the game we weren't ready, and so we've learned from that mistake, and like I said, we're going to be ready for them. Now, with that said, I'm sure they'll have a lot of play actions and boots and different things to try to, if we're ready for the run. That's what everybody does, but you try to establish the run. Most teams do, unless you're a throwing team like us. Um, we're going to run the ball too, but majority of teams that run the football like them try to get that established and got some stuff off it, whether it's play action, some boots. They, run a lot of mesh routes. In some of their passing stuff. They give him quick reads to be able to do that. And they got some deep stuff too, some over routes. Um, but we got to get ready for the physicality, and we knew that, and hopefully our preparation will show up Saturday.
And as I look at the values written down here, and I'm thinking about being players' shoes when they're balancing mechanics versus mentality versus like instincts, and what how does that balance with the player in the field in real time? And it's up to them in the field, obviously.
Yeah.
And how do they keep that balance sort of between themselves?
Well, you got to coach everything.
Yeah.
It's like we're talking to the staff. You got to be able to coach everything. You got to coach technique. You got to coach scheme. You got to coach effort. You got to coach all of it. You know what I mean? And so you have meetings, you have walkthroughs, you have practice, you have drills, and it's the whole person when you coach. Being able to coach philosophically what you're trying to get done with an offense or defense or special team scheme, but also then your part in the puzzle. The individual player, and then the effort level that you play with. All of those things are part of it. And I think this past week we've kind of gone back to the basics a little bit. Effort, getting to the football, physicality, striking and shedding, block destruction, blocking on the other side of the ball, tight hands, everything that everybody else in the world coaches, just so all of those things you try to coach. But I guess you can say there's somewhat of a balance, but there's not really a balance because you got to coach everything, and hopefully they're able to retain all of that information, and hopefully they're able to absorb as much of that as you can coach them on.
I think regular folks, viewers, kind of look at an FCS team versus an FBS team, but do you feel like that line's kind of like really blurred? And
yeah, but we're also San Jose State. You know what I mean? We don't have a ton of revenue sharing money like everybody else, and so we recognize who we are. You know what I mean? We're not Alabama or anybody like that, and so we got to be super humble in our approach, and just like they got good players on their team. Look at their team; they got good players. There's guys that transferred from FBS schools. Their quarterback was at Fresno. You know what I mean? So he could definitely play in this level, and they gave Washington State everything they could handle. They had every opportunity to win that game. Like I said, they're very close to being undefeated. So this is a really good football team.
Hey coach, how confident are you in the field goal unit moving forward? And could we kind of see more trust in those situations instead of going for it on a fourth and short kind of situation?
Um, yeah, all of it depends. We're working on it. I still got a ton of confidence, and Dennis. I know he's done it before, and so I'm not gonna give up on him. And like I said, he's worked really hard on it. And a lot of times it's not. There's a lot of factors involved. It's it's the snap, the hold, all the different things. So um, yeah, he's worked really hard on it. Haven't given up on him, but yeah, whether we go for it on a certain situation, it's all dependent on the game, what's happening in the game, and where you're at, and just game time situation. So yeah, we could see how that goes. But I haven't lost confidence in Dennis. I told him when some of those field goals missed, we're gonna need you, and I trust him. He's worked really really hard. He hasn't given up. He hasn't quit. It's kind of the fortitude of, everybody's talked about the portal and, what the portal does. It forces guys, if things don't go their way, they quit and they transfer and they don't keep fighting. This kind of stuff, this is life. This is reality. It's adversity. You just got to keep fighting. Continue to get better. You can't pull the, bed covers over your head and hopefully it goes away. You just got to go to work, which he has done.
Aaron Johnson with the Mercury News. Just can you just talk about just how the defense has played on third down? I mean, looked amazing so far this season. Just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's been good so far after a couple games. Again, it was a big point of emphasis this offseason. We try to rectify that from last year. Um, the guys have really bought into, getting off the field on that third down and making a point of emphasis to, you know, hone in on the details of that particular call, that situation, understand the down and distance. And then with that, being better on earlier downs, so we give ourselves a manageable third down that we can, hopefully get off the field on. So again, after 2 games, it's been really good, but we still have 10 left at least. So
Yeah. And then no one wants to start 0-2 on the season, but do you feel like it's better to get this out the way early when you have a full season to correct anything going on?
yeah, like you said, it's not. I mean, we'd much rather be 2-0 talking about this, but we're still building the process of what it takes to get over the finish line and win a game, because every game is tough. I mean, to win a football game at Division I level, and I really liked how the guys have taken on the challenge of honing in on the details and really working hard in practice the last couple of weeks. We had the off week, but they were grinding away, and they're eager to get out there and play.
And then what have you seen from Idaho's offense? Like, what are you preparing for from them?
Yeah, this is a top 10 team. They're going to go far in the playoffs this year. This is a really good outfit offensively. Their quarterback is very explosive. He's one of the better guys we'll face this year, in my opinion, for sure. He can throw it. He's very elusive. He's their leading rusher. I mean, he does a lot of things to make that offense go. They're really big up front. They run the ball. They have 3 really good running backs that all can play and produce. And their tight ends are tough. I mean, they're physical group up front, and the receivers are good. I mean, this is a good outfit we're facing, and all our guys understand that. I mean, there's nobody that's. I mean, they know this is a real group that we're about to face, and they're 2-0 against the Mountain West, so this is a good group.
Nick Austin with Reality. Coach, before the first game, we talked about the third down defense from last year, and you said, sometimes football is a weird sport. You might trade third down, like the third down defense for turnovers, maybe. Like, you guys are really excellent with the turnovers last year, but the turnovers are still coming, as we saw against Texas. How would you rate your guys' ability to balance both and the overall performance of the defense after 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, these are things that every week we work on, we point out, and we really emphasize. Getting the ball back to our offense. Turnovers big. We work on practice, different drills that we do every single day. Really praise when we do get one in practice. Just because it's really a momentum thing. To get turnovers like that, and then with the third downs, like we spoke about. Just in that situation, you got to make a play. Like, we're counting on someone to make a play, whether it get to the quarterback, whether batting down a ball, intercepting a ball, whatever it may be. It's a critical down to get off the field, and so all of those things are always worked on. They're constantly talked about. Now they just have to go out and just produce and do it. And so far, knock on wood, they've done that.
Hey, Coach, Lucas Quick with the Spear here. Defensively, you guys had a lot of positives against Texas. You held the ground pretty well. How do you think they performed overall on your sense, and how can it help them out for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I still want about 3 or 4 plays back in that game. There was a couple explosives that really bother me still to this day. I got to get over, but but I think that they learned from those mistakes. It was things that we had worked on during practice, but you get under the in those situations, you gotta make sure that you finish some of those plays, and so. But the guys, like I said, those guys have bounced back and they're eager to kind of get that behind them and get on the field and play again. And so, but we're not in the moral victories at all. We went in there to try to win the game, and we didn't do that. So we're 0-2, and we got our next one coming up.
In the first week against Central Michigan, since they were a pretty run heavy team, we weren't really able to see the pass rush as much. But against Texas, brought a lot of pressure. The Arch Manning almost had the safety, forced a red zone interception. Just what was your evaluation for them on their first game, like really showing what they're capable of doing?
Yeah, I mean, I was pleased with, going into that game. All the guys didn't they didn't seem to me like this was a bit too big of a task for them. They were really focused on the details and really trying to put a good face on in this game. And so I was proud to see that they weren't shook. We snapped back, we rebounded on some plays that they got, and we fought to the very end. And those are building blocks that you need for the bigger scale of the season. And so I was pleased with that. Again, we wanted to win the game, and so that's what our goal is each and every week. And so to that end, we're striving for that, and we're keeping moving forward. But again, was proud of some of the things I saw in that game for sure.
Hey, Coach Niles Hall with the Spear here. Jalen Williams has made a lot of big time plays early in the season. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, he's a guy that's been in the program for a while now, and he's one of our team captains, and so really pleased with what he's done up to this point. And I like his leadership. He's a guy that is going to be trying to do things right every single day, practice, meetings. He's a good guy for the young guys to bounce idea or questions off of because he's been through it. And so, there's still things that he wants to get better at, and we're keep pushing for those things to keep improving. But at this point, pleased with what he's done so far for sure. And hopefully, that continues and keep that, ascension for him.
And then your defense has been good. During the bye, what are some things that you guys continue to work on to keep that going?
Right, we're all fundamentals all the time. That's the key that'll get you through any situation. Just the little details of hand placement on the D line in the run game, to fits with the linebackers in the run game, to communication pre snap for the whole entire defense. To once the ball is snapped, there's post communication as well, and all those little details we continue to work on every single day. So when they get in those situations out there on the field, they feel really comfortable and their focus is right, and they can do the things that we're asking them to do. So that was a big emphasis this past week. And then kind of freshen up a little bit as well, get the bodies back, because we had 2 real physical games back to back, and so that was good to kind of give them a little breather as far as the pounding on their bodies a little bit. But like I said, they're eager to go out and play again this weekend.
Hey, Coach. So the 3-4 defense, I know it's meant to like sort of mix and morph, and on the particular plays, I think you're thinking about when you probably had some where they missed calls or formations or maybe a bad angle or what. Um, I know you're always kind of trying to attack in a sense, but what are some of those senses in terms of a play caller on the defensive side that maybe needs to get better, or what you're looking at need to improve on the coaching side?
Well, I mean, I'm the toughest critic on myself than anybody, and so, I mean, when you're calling a 75 play game, there's always going to be one like, I wish I, would have called this, you know what I mean? So, there's always some of that, and then you look back at yourself like, man, did I work enough in that one area during the week? But again, these are good players you're playing against too. They're not the scrub kind of players, and there's good coaches on the other side. So it's a constant, as a play caller, you're always reevaluating in game on what the tempo of the game is going and what you're featuring offensively and how you combat it. And so some of that, they might get you in a play, but then you can get them back with another look that you can show. So it's a chess match and it keeps going all the way through. But again, some of the big plays were just, eyes, like they weren't disciplined on the play with their eyes. And so that's another emphasis we're talking about in the bye week, is just focusing with your eyes where they need to be on that particular snap. And if we do that, and there's plenty of reps that were really good, but always the ones that weren't really magnify himself in a game like that. So just working on the details. Every snap is the most important snap of the game. Play 23 is as big as play 56. You know what I mean? Right. So just really, honing in on each particular play and what the job title is for that play.
Another physical team coming in, obviously big in the trenches, Idaho. And are you trying to keep like Jordan free and kind of clean so he can come up and make plays? Or what are you looking at, like from the beginning of the game or late in the game if they're getting tired? What's an example of like what?
Yeah, I mean, we're always, we're going to, do our scheme and then see how it matches up against what the offense is going to do against us. Jordan Pollard he's a sideline to sideline guy, and it's always starts up front. Keeping guys off of him as best we can. But he's an elusive guy. He understands block schemes and how to get himself skinny to make a play. We're going to do what we feel is going to give us the best chance to win a game, and that's what we're going in this game to do.
And then, what was it in the Tech? Oh, Aaron Johnson with the Mercury News. And what was it like in the Texas game to see guys, like Scudero, Leland, and Kyrie Schultz get out there and create a lot of separation on, the big SEC corners?
Yeah, I like that question to start off. That's a really good question. It was encouraging. It's great to see the guys that we have on the team, guys that we recruited, being able to fill the roles that we needed to and create that separation versus a top defense like that. They're really, really good on defense. Elite athletes and all that. So being able to create that separation and get guys open just goes to show, we're so close. We're just so close. And it's a matter of when. It's just a matter of when. And it's funny because talking to my wife this morning, one of the things that she sent me was a quote of patience. And you don't want to hear that when you only play 12 or 13 games. You want that success early on, but it's just when it happens, it's going to be the floodgates. So it's hard to be patient, but yeah.
So what does offense look like over the past week and a half of practice?
A lot cleaner. I think the biggest thing is just consistency. I hear got a lot of text messages, a lot of phone calls about, man, the guys played hard. That's part of the game. You got to play hard. That's what football is. You play hard. That's a given. We just got to go ahead and just execute. We got to take care of the football first and foremost. We're turning the ball over way too much, and it's just easy fumbles. It's picks where we shouldn't be throwing the football there, but just cleaning up that stuff. And I think the first day that we talked here, was you guys asked, what do you want to see? And I said, I want to see us just play clean football, and that's what we haven't been able to do. So consistency, take care of the football, and just execute and score touchdowns.
Yeah. And then, what have you been seeing from the Idaho defense in preparation for this upcoming matchup?
Very Central Michigan-like in terms of how hard they play. They're a tough group of guys. They run to the football. They play hard. They play with their hair on fire. They do a lot of different things. They've shown some different things from week to week, especially from the first two games up to this past game against Utah Tech. So, and it's like anything else. We got to be ready for everything. I think they do some really good jobs, and they do a good job of using their talent and what they have and putting them in positions to make plays. So it's going to be a really good test and a challenge for us. So we'll be up to it.
How you doing, Coach? Nick Austin from Zeality, and you just mentioned Idaho having a similar defense to Central Michigan. Do you feel like that gives you an advantage having already faced Central Michigan, having already seen something similar?
Well, I wouldn't say the scheme is the same. Mm-hmm. Just the type of toughness. They're going to go ahead and smack you in the mouth. They're going to bring everything that they got. And I think that kind of shocked us in the Central Michigan game. As much as we talk about it and we prepare the guys for it, it's one thing, right? It's like what Mike Tyson said back in the day. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. And we took some punches in the face that our guys weren't really ready for. And so, preparing for Idaho is like, listen, these guys are going to be tough. They're coming from, I know where they come from. I know the kind of guys that they can recruit. Will they be as talented? I don't know. But I can tell you one thing, they're going to be tough, scrappy dudes, so we got to be ready for a fight.
And you spoke to it earlier about you guys are close on offense,
Right.
And we've seen signs throughout the past two games, moments throughout the games of the offense clicking.
Right.
How hard is it to stay patient whenever you want it to click so bad, and you've seen it with your own eyes that it can work, and it can work really well whenever it's clicking.
It's frustrating. It is. Anytime you put a lot of work, and it's not just as coaches, the players, it's frustrating for them too. They've seen it, whether it's spring ball or fall camp or even spurts in some of these games. I mean, we're driving the ball against Texas. We're running the football well. We're making good decisions. We're throwing the football where it's got to go. But all of a sudden, you just miss some things here and there, and it'd be a lot more concerning if we didn't have anybody open or we couldn't run the football. And it's just like, gosh, man, we're going 3 and out because of we can't get guys to do their jobs. Right now, it's a matter of just getting on the same page and just clicking. We have some new pieces in the receivers. You mentioned those 3 guys. Those 3 guys didn't play here last year. Kyrie redshirted. Danny was up at Sac State, and Leland was at Purdue. And then we're also asking guys like Tui Tungavailoa to step up and play, and he's a freshman and stuff. And we'll have some other guys that are freshmen that's going to play this year. So those guys got to get up to speed. And then the guys that have come back, we need those guys to show up. They got to start making plays for us and be consistent with it. Even Joe, our center, he only played a couple of games last year, and he's a starter now. So getting him on the same page with some things. But at the same time, too, though, we talked about it as offensive unit last week. Everybody's got to do their job and just when they do their job, it doesn't stress anybody else out to do more than what they have to do. You know what I mean? Like with my family, I mean, if my wife does a great job of cooking and cleaning and taking care of me and my son and everything like that, if I had to do all that stuff, I'd be a mess. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing is everybody has a role, everybody has their job, and everybody's got to love what they got to do, but everybody's got to do their jobs. And then it's just going to make life easier for the rest of our family here.
Hey, Coach, Lucas Quick with the Spear here. Your guys' running games looked significantly more efficient versus Texas, I would say. Just what are you liking from the run game overall, and what can we see from it moving forward?
Yeah, the encouraging thing is we're able to run the football, gain positive yards, and get some, like 4, 5, 6 yards. I mean, when you take out some of I think the sacks or whatnot, our yards per carry was up there with what Ohio State had, if not better. So that's super encouraging for us, right? We said before the season, if we can run the football better, we're going to be a better offense and a better football team. Well, all of a sudden, we're not hitting on some of the passes, some of those deep ones like the one to Danny Scudero. You know what I mean? A couple of them in Texas, we didn't hit a couple of them, or we didn't attempt it to Danny and some of the other guys in the Central Michigan game. And we have a stat. There's something that I hold hard. That's really, really important to us is, if we can hit 4 or more shots down the field, our win percentage at places I've been over the course of the last 12 years or 10 years we've been doing this, it's over 90%. You know what I mean? And defenses are doing a better job of knowing that and trying to play off. But at the same time, too, though, we got to complete those shots when we get those opportunities. I think last year, probably early on, we would have probably 10 opportunities a game, maybe 12 opportunities a game to take those shots down the field. Right now, we're limited to maybe 6 or 7 of them. So we got to be at least over 50% hitting those shots. The guys are open. Walker's seen it, in the Texas game. And we just got to complete it. It's simple. Just throw and catch. That's it.
Going to Walker, is there anything that you've worked with him during this bye week, and what has your message been to him for the past week and a half?
Yeah. Working with him, and the message has been stop thinking about other things. Just play quarterback. And his role has expanded, and we've talked about that, of being a leader and a team captain, and he's done a wonderful job at that. But I gave an analogy like you got a pen holder, right? And the pen holder is your mind. And as we go through scenarios and we play football, every one of those thoughts is another pen that you're adding into your pen holder. Well, all of a sudden you have, say, you got nice space, you got pens inside there, and it's good. That's football. But all of a sudden, you start grabbing stuff that doesn't have to do with playing offense, and you grab those pens and you stuff it into that pen holder. All of a sudden, it starts overflowing. What are you going to start taking out? Do you take out the stuff that doesn't matter, or are you taking out football pens? Because your mind can only handle so much, especially when you're a young guy. So the biggest thing for him, working with him this past week, was let's get these pens that has nothing to do with playing football, and just worry about football. You know what I mean? Don't worry about and I'm not saying that he's worried about this, but I don't want to disclose too many things, but don't worry about what color socks we wear. Don't worry about what helmets we're going to wear this game. Let's worry about where our reads are, being on the same page with our receivers, and go out there and freaking rip the football. And that's the message to him this week. So I I believe we're going to see what Walker looked like last year and what we saw in fall camp, and I can't wait to see him play come Saturday.
I asked a couple guys this. I wanted to get your perspective of it. Just explain to me your reaction towards the Leland catch, although it wasn't ruled a completed catch. What was your reaction on the sideline to that?
Disappointment. It, you don't know. It's whatever they see, but that was a heck of a catch. But I think that's the world that we live in nowadays. That thing hit social media, but guess what? It didn't count. It doesn't count. It's not a catch. It's going to go down in the history as an incomplete pass. I love the concentration. I love how he fought for it, and he didn't dwell on it. I'm not saying he did, but I think that's the thing that our guys and the message is that this day and age, it's what's out there. The fact is that was an incomplete pass, so we got to move on. We got to go ahead and complete the next one because we still had opportunities after that play. But that was a heck of an effort, and if we can continue with those efforts from him and some of the other guys, we're going to be pretty good.
Hey, Coach Niles Hall with the Spear here. What have you seen from your offensive line? And
Yeah. I think right now they're getting better. I think they're gelling a lot better. You could see that in the Texas game. Their IDs, their communication is getting better, and I think getting ready for that game. And Coach Ken had a lot of loud music, the speakers going. It forced our guys to really slow down and communicate. But I think still inconsistent, and it's more so toughness and just dominate. You know what I mean? Like, get out there, have fun, dominate, be tough. It doesn't matter how cold or how hot it is. Doesn't matter what the score of the game is. Protect the football. Protect the quarterbacks. Protect the running backs. Your offensive lineman, I remember when I played, and even the really good teams that I've been a part of, you felt like you could go anywhere, and those guys, they were going to be the toughest suckers out there, and they're going to take care of everything. And I think our guys are starting to understand that. But at the same time, too, though, just do your job and just play hard and just play tough and just be on the same page.
And then we've seen Leland Smith make big plays, showcasing his athleticism. Do you expect him to get more of those opportunities moving forward?
Absolutely. We have some things for him this week, and there's a on the call sheet, right? There's a section for certain guys where you got to get him the football, and the menu grew for him because we got to get him the football more in order for us to be good on offense. Just a couple targets a game and just trying to throw to him deep is not going to cut it. So, we have some different things that we're going to be able to get him the football and let him do his thing because he's a problem out there for people.
Hey, Coach, Hadi Barghouti from the Spartan Daily and Spear. What have you kind of seen from Tama going into next week?
Yeah, I seen see the athleticism. I see the ability for him to make plays with his legs. Some of the things is what can we do to make him feel comfortable in certain pass concepts. So it's not just when he's in the game all of a sudden it's going to be run stuff. So we have some things in for him this week that's going to throw the football. But I think overall he does provide some spark that guys love when he's on the field. You can see offense and defense, they kind of perk up a little bit when he's out there. So it gives us some good juice. And it's good to have a guy like that can bring a different dimension to the offense. So it's nice to have him out there.
Coach Vic Aquino, Mountain West Connection. Ideally, if you saw all the phases of the offense happening the way you want,
Right.
what a lot of people think the identity of your offense is pass.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally, what would you see that identity? What would you like that to be?
Scoring a lot of points, however it takes. This it's a counter-based offense, meaning, if you're gonna play coverage, just the RPOs, it's just numbers based. So we're gonna hand the ball off. You know what I mean? If you're gonna load the box, then we're gonna throw the football. Um, there's really no percentage of how many runs to pass, and everybody talks about you got to be balanced. But for us, for balance, it's kind of Mike Leachish in the pass game. You can't just throw all the balls to one guy. You got to spread it out. And I think that's what Walker was able to showcase last year, and that's why we love what Walker's able to do. He doesn't just pick one guy and just throw it to him the whole time. He tries to spread it. He lets those reads kind of dictate where the football goes, and that's what he's got to get back to. In the run game, if we're going to run the football well and like against Texas and we're not down a lot, then just like the bowl game, we'll hand the ball off and let those guys eat too. So and the other thing too is, how is our offensive line looking? How are they feeling? When you look in their eyes, are they hungry? Are they ready to roll? Then gosh, we can run the football a little bit more. And we're ripping off some runs, because the guys that we have, Jabari done a wonderful job against Texas. He ran hard. He ran tough. He broke tackles. Chalk, he's a problem when you get to the next level to tackle him. He's tough to tackle. He's got some good wiggle. And, Lamar's a big dude. But at the same time, too, though, we got to take care of the football. Yeah. When you start seeing the football getting on the ground, when you're running the football, to me, I'm like, I might as well just sling it, and put the ball in the air. So it just kind of all depends on how the flow is going.
And you mentioned with Walker and the pen analogy, and is it more of a matter of him just being instinctual and like you said, dropping all the superfluous stuff and kind of what we're going to expect and see from him last year? We're going to see that is that sort of instinctual part of being just a quarterback and a person who he is.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, because I think after camp was done, you asked him questions and he knew the answers, right? But it was like he was, I wouldn't say searching for the answers, but he was thinking, what's the perfect answer? Rather than, the message this week has been, be decisive and go and play ball. Don't overthink stuff. You know what I mean? Just what your eyes see tells your brain goes and process, and let your body have it. Don't overthink stuff. And I think there's a lot of, he wants to be perfect. He wants to make the perfect read. He wants to make the perfect throw. It doesn't exist. Football is not a perfect game. Just go out there and football is clearing your mind, having fun, and just shoot your shot in it and go out there and inspire. You can't inspire when you're being cautious. You can't inspire others when you're just overthinking stuff. Go out there, have fun, smile on your face, throw the football, rip it, make those throws that just make you say, oh my gosh, did you see that? Like, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. But gosh, Walker, be the guy that we know you are and freaking have fun. Inspire me. I get inspired watching our guys play. When I see Danny Scudero go and run by somebody, that inspires me. When I see Chalk make somebody miss, that inspires me. When I see Seti lock down a tackle, that inspires me. I want to see inspirational, inspired football. When I'm on the sideline, I'm like, gosh, I don't even know if I coached that up, but that was freaking awesome. That's what I want to see.